Captain's Log, February 9th, 2016. So all of a sudden I have a reason to be way more excited about the new Star Trek series than I was before. And of course, we knew really nothing before besides Kurtzman was producing it, and CBS's main motivation behind making the show in the first place seemed to be to sell their CBS All Access streaming platform. And that made me really leery about what exactly the show would be. And I still don't love that they're using it to sell that platform, and that you're going to have to pay for that platform in order to, or at least as far as we understand it right now, in order to watch that show when it comes out past the pilot. But that doesn't mean that I didn't want it to be a great show. I am suddenly so much more excited to see what this ends up being, and it feels like the floodgates of possibilities are open right now. Bryan Fuller is going to be producing and showrunning this show, and he's been trying to get a Star Trek show off the ground for 10 years. The guy loves Star Trek. He gets Star Trek. He understands it. He's worked on Star Trek. He's talking about it like he wants to do something lighthearted and colorful, and something that kind of goes back to the roots of the original series, which of course is kind of what Abrams tried to do with it too, at least with the look and the feel, and banking a lot on the iconography and the catchphrases and all of that stuff. So what I'm hoping is for, obviously that kind of look with something a little bit smarter and more sophisticated in the storytelling, and some characterizations that have a little bit more dimension. And with Bryan Fuller, you're really likely to get that. And this is a really versatile guy. I mean, this is a guy who's been producing Hannibal. That just got canceled. People are really unhappy about that. Of course, that's I'm sure why he's a little bit more open now. Although he's also showrunning another show. What is that? Oh, American Gods, yeah. And so people are kind of wondering how he's going to do both at the same time. Of course, it's not completely unprecedented to have a showrunner doing two shows at the same time, and it's easier these days because so many shows will go on longer hiatuses. You'll get like a 13-episode season, and then there'll be a long break, and then you'll come back for another one. And I don't know if they're going to make all these at once and drop them, or if they're going to put them out once a week, but just not air them and make you get on the streaming platform. I'd be real surprised if that's how they did it. I think it's a lot more likely, and I don't think they've revealed this, I think it's a lot more likely that they'll air that pilot on TV to draw interest, or at least that's what they've said they're going to do, and then after that just drop the whole season. And I'd also be really surprised if it was any longer than 13 episodes, but they might make it a longer season. Who knows? But anyway, so a little bit easier to show run two shows now if you've got kind of a fall show and a spring show like that. But anyway, like I said, this guy is really versatile, working on something like Hannibal, which I've not watched, but I've heard is obviously it's a horror show, and I've heard that it gets certainly pretty gruesome and creepy. And then on the other end, he created Pushing Daisies, which was a wonderful comedy drama, really quirky thing that he worked with Barry Sonnenfeld, and was really up my alley comedy-wise, and there was nothing else like it. I mean, the comedy certainly was very Barry Sonnenfeld. It had kind of a Ben Edlund kind of sensibilities to it, but it was really unique, and there's nothing else like it. And so the guy has proven that he is able to work in a lot of different wheelhouses and do a lot of different sorts of genres. Boy, this is exciting. He is so the right guy, and or at least he certainly seems like potentially the right guy, and importantly, he's worked on Star Trek before. So I mean, I'm talking about how he's versatile, he's done all these different kinds of things, so maybe he'll be good for Star Trek, but of course also he's worked on Star Trek before, and that's not a thing I expected. I sure didn't think that they'd go to anybody that had actually, outside of maybe Abrams stuff, worked on Star Trek before. He worked on DS9 and Voyager, and I'm excited by some of his quotes, because he says that that while he really enjoyed DS9 and Voyager, he wants to do something a little bit more colorful, and that's more of the kind of fun that original series was, which of course Abrams kind of was trying to do that as well and contemporize it, but it was a little bit more about banking on nostalgia and using the iconography and the catchphrases and stuff people were familiar with in order to sell it and and in order to keep people interested in the moment. And I'm hoping, of course, that with Fuller, we get maybe an aesthetic like that, but then that it's not just throwback, but that we get obviously just a little bit more story sophistication and the big science fiction ideas back and that kind of thing. And with him running it, I think there's no doubt that it will feel like a real Star Trek again, but maybe be a little bit more lively than the last couple incarnations before Abrams. Maybe because Enterprise just felt really stale to people, and it felt like, and I believe it really kind of was this. It was the same people working on this on the same franchise for almost 2 decades, and they were burnt out. And here's a guy that's really excited about it, and has been trying to get a show off the ground for 10 years, and has had various ideas of what he wants to do. And one of them, and I can't believe this is now maybe even a possibility, although I kind of doubt it's what they'll do. But he at one point suggested seeing what the next generation era would be like after in the Abrams verse, and a lot of people have said that would be an interesting thing to see, and but it's not something I ever thought that anybody involved would actually talk about. And apparently there was at one time, obviously before he was picked for this project. That's the thing he talked about kind of wanting, but he's got, he's kicked some other things around too, and I don't know. I think it would be smarter to probably to do some sort of original concept, although I have no idea what that'll be. And there's still a part of me kind of hoping that it's not in the Abrams verse, but honestly, I don't care. It could, as I said before, it could be absolutely wonderful and still be set there. I really, at this point, don't care. I'm very excited about this sudden turn of events, and it makes me wonder who else is going to be involved, because a lot of the time when you get a showrunner, they bring in people they've worked with before, and it makes me wonder if we might not get to see some writers on this show that some big TV writers that have never done anything for Star Trek or this kind of science fiction before. And like I said, this guy's worked with Barry Sonnenfeld, and it would be fascinating to see Sonnenfeld direct or write an episode of Star Trek. I don't know if it would be any good, but to have him come in and do one of the more kind of comedy humorous episodes, it could be really cool. Imagine Ben Edlund writing a Star Trek episode. I'm just saying. I would love to see that. And obviously he's worked with all kinds of other really interesting people. That's about all I have to say about it. I'm not going to go on and on, but I am much, much more excited about it, and my expectations are suddenly higher that it's going to be a really good show. And like I said, I don't love the paywall, but if it ends up being something really special, I'm going to feel a little bit better about having to do that, because at least CBS is giving it to somebody who's really, excited to be there and really passionate about it, and I'm proud of him for that. That's really cool. So anyway, everybody, thanks as always for watching. We'd love to see what you think about this development in the comments. And in the meantime, I'm Captain Logan, and this concludes today's Captain's Log.